Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is war without bombs, war with bombs, and people running for their lives. Now, let me just I want to give you a compliment. You know, frankly, so I've been doing this since 1993. Prophecy Club started in 93. And there's a side of me that feels like no one is listening. I know. Thank you for your emails that says, God bless. We do appreciate what you're doing. I don't know. They just seem to go over me. It's not an attempt to be humble. It's just, I think until we get the millions of people listening to us, I'll still feel like no one's listening. But I want to say thank you. Here's the compliment. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for sending your emails. Thank you because I know that you know that the things I'm saying are not popular. A lot of people don't like me, don't like Dimitri Dudeman. They don't like the things we say. And, I mean, even my wife Leslie says, it does get old. I've had my son and my daughter say, okay, it gets old. I understand that. And sometimes we can only take so much negative. I agree. I mean, I know you're probably thinking, what a negative guy, what a negative thing you got to do. Boy, I'm glad I don't live in your world. Well, sometimes I got to get away. Sometimes I have to, if nothing else, just go out and stare at the sky, stare at the world, stare at the wall, just clear my brain. It is difficult, but knowing that you're there, knowing that you're helping me, that, when I do say we're in a jam, you guys help me. Thank you. Thank you. But I want to show you something today. I want to show you something that I think is a timing thing. I think it tells us the things that we can look for. I wish it told us, years, the exact year this comes, I don't know. But I want to show you something. I want to show you something that, Prophecy Club is not just trying to bring you news. You can get news a lot of places. That's what most of the other channels out there bring you as news. What we're trying to do is bring you what God is saying through God's proven prophets in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses in light of the news. So, war without bombs, that's where we are now. War with bombs is coming just around the corner, in my opinion. And then people running for their lives as in Armageddon. Okay, so first thing I want to remind you that I've started teaching through the book of Revelation. Well, Stan, you already talked through the book of Revelation. Yeah, actually many times. What's the difference? Well, this time I'm taking it real slow. I'm digging in. I'm helping you to understand the deep and secret things, not just the overall meaning. You get the overall meaning. We got that up on watchprophecyclub.com. You can go up there and watch me teaching through chapters 4 through 22 up there. Anyway, so it's this Friday night at 6:30. I invite you to come. You can watch live streaming in Prophecy Club, the YouTube, Facebook, and I think there's another channel out there. Anyway, you can also put up a question or something like that. All right, let's get into it. So this is the hottest, latest thing. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, Trump is hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America at 125%. What's going on? This is what's going on. Just like the prophecy said, there would be a war of words, followed by a war of bombs, followed by people terrified and running. This is getting really, really high. Now, you remember Brandon Biggs, this is a guy that saw Trump shot in the right ear 3 months before it happened. And he had 50,000 subscribers. Now it's up to over 500,000 subscribers. A lot of people listen to the guy. He seemed pretty humble to me. Anyway, he says that we're going to see food gone from the shelves. Well, I have to count them up. What do we got? 10 or 12 of those prophecies? Okay, let's go on. Raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of 125%, effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. I don't think they're going to see that. I think that what Brandon said is correct. I think China is just going to cut off all shipments to the United States. What does that do? It's not just no food in the stores. I mean, China makes. I heard, what was that guy, Kennedy, Senator Kennedy? He said, God made the heavens and the earth, and China made everything else. They make just about everything. And when they stop shipping, and also Coverstone was told this too, okay? When they stop shipping, it's going to get tough quick, really tough. Now, number one thing you want to do, you have to ask yourself, okay, so if there's no food in the stores, how do I prepare for that? And I'm going to send you to josephskitchen.com. I've been telling you, I don't think there's a cheaper or a better way to have emergency food than josephskitchen.com. It's God's famine food. All right, now let's keep going. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that, here it is, these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States. I've authorized a 90-day pause. Okay, so all of those big high tariffs he announced, remember in the Rose Garden a couple of days ago, they're all on pause. He's reduced them all down to, here he says, lowered the reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. So the ones that were sometimes getting 35 or 50 or 75%, he dropped them all to 10%. In other words, he's kind of hitting China right in the nose. And China's big. I think China is about to stop all shipments coming to America. And that, I don't think we've thought that through. I don't think that Trump has considered that they would do that. He considers that America is, this great big powerful nation. We could stand anything. We could beat anybody anywhere we want to. But he hasn't taken into consideration that with a 125% tariff, do not be surprised. And it may even come in the next few days, but do not be surprised if China just stops all shipments. They let the ships with all the containers, with all of the stuff we're buying, they just leave it out in the ocean. They just anchor the ships right in place. They stop unloading ships immediately. Do not be surprised if that's exactly what happens. Let's go on. Fun fact, if tariffs didn't work, 170 other countries wouldn't be tariffing America. Yes, tariffs work, but 125%? I think we're in trouble. Trump says U.S. starting direct talks with Iran, Netanyahu working on a new hostage deal. The hostages are in agony, and we want to get them out, and I agree with that. And I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, this can tie together. I think Iran's going to be in great danger. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and if the talks aren't successful, I actually think it will be a very bad day for Iran. In other words, he's going to do to Iran what he's been doing to the Houthis. Now, I played for you the other day an article that said that Moscow has said, if we attack Iran, we're going to see a catastrophe. I personally don't think that we're about to go to war with Iran. As you look at the prophecies given to Leslie, in the order that they were given, Arafat died in the hospital. That happened back in 2004. Then Israel will give the Palestinians a state, but it'd be a temporary measure to allow the Israelis time to strengthen the military. Oil will be discovered in Israel. Oil will make the Jews willing to fight for their land. Then Israel and America go against most of the rest of the Arab world. And I think that it happens in that order, meaning I don't think, based upon what I see in the prophecies, I don't think we're about to see the U.S. hitting Iran. Again, that's one of the reasons we listen to Prophecy Club, because we're not just getting the news, we're getting what God says. Trump has said he would prefer a deal over Iran's nuclear program to a military confrontation. What's he saying? He's saying, I've got those B-2 stealth bombers down in Diego Garcia that can hold and carry, and just about the only thing that can carry bunker buster bombs, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, we came up with this back in the days of Afghanistan. And it's basically a used cannon. In other words, this big, long steel pipe that's made of high tempered, pressurized steel. And inside they put an explosive. And they've arranged it so that this bunker buster goes down really, 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 really deep. They think that you basically can't get deep enough that we can't reach you. Now, I don't know if that, I'm not a military guy. But I think that America thinks that they can take out anybody with this. Now, I don't think, this is my point, I don't think that a war with the Arabs between Israel, America, and the Arab world, I don't think that that's ready to start, not until massive oil is found in Israel, and that gives Israel time to build up their military. So, I'm saying I think we got some time. Let's go on to the next one. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent fires back after China adds 84% tariff. Oh, but then what happened is now Trump added 125%. I think that the one-upmanship is probably going to stop right now. My guess is in the next day or the next coming weeks, do not be surprised to see China just simply say, fine, we won't ship you anything. And everything stops, just like Dana Coverstone was shown. Remember the Baltic Dry Index is dead? Remember that? See, again, we're not talking about just news here at Prophecy Club. What is God saying about it? U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent fires back after China adds 84% tariff on U.S. goods entering the country. Bessent says that U.S. may delist China stocks on American exchanges. Okay, so we're talking about just short of bombing wars. Well, that is what the prophecy says. It says first there would be a war of words. Boom, we're in it. It goes on to say in 2024, China imported $143 billion from the U.S. U.S. imported $439 billion. So they think, Bessent and Trump, they think because we are importing more from China than they're importing from us, that by stopping all trade is going to hurt China more than us. Well, you have to remember China has lots of money, and America is in a financial hole. So I don't know. I'm not convinced that America has the financial strength to weather something like that. Now, you may be saying, yeah, well, can't other countries send us the other products that China's not sending? Well, yes, if they have it. And even then, it'll take a little while to get it all organized. I can see 6 months, 9 months minimum, maybe even a year before we're able to get our feet back under us. And in the process, again, we've got right behind me. Okay, I got it. Look back here. Okay. This is what we're looking at. We're looking at possibly nothing from China coming into the... Now, hopefully some other nations can make up some of the difference, but probably not all of it. Let's finish this. Okay, so the Chinese actually don't want to come and negotiate it because they're the worst offenders in the international trading system. I can tell you that this escalation is a loser for them. They have some very smart economists, blah, 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 blah. They are the surplus country. Their exports to the U.S. are 5 times our exports to China. So they can raise their tariffs, but so what? In other words, America is thinking we're in the driver's seat. We got the cards. China, you got to dance to the tune of our music. China's saying, no, we don't. We want to destroy America, and this is fine by us. You don't want us to let you destroy you quick or slowly. We'll destroy you quickly. He says delisting Chinese stocks from their American stock exchanges is firmly on the table. That's getting close to a declaration of war. Not exactly, but I'm only saying, this is the point I'm trying to show you, that we're just a few steps away from economic war, war without bombs. Actually, we're already in that. And soon, war with bombs. Such a move would trigger a wave of investor sell-offs and cut Chinese firms off from U.S. capital, likely forcing many to flee the markets. Remember, I read for you yesterday, excuse me, I'm getting over a garbage here, that China has announced that it's selling $2 trillion of our U.S. debt. They're selling off all of these bonds. Well, let me show you something. I got an article on that in just a second. China manipulating currency. President Trump on Tuesday accused China of manipulating its currency to offset the impact of the U.S. tariffs. They're manipulating the currency today as an offset against the tariffs. Now, here's the problem. Schiff, this is not Adam Schiff, this is actually Peter Schiff, an economist, says China can just crash the dollar by buying gold amid trade war. He says he is urging China to resolve its trade deficit with the United States by dumping its U.S. treasuries, or our debt, and dollars, and using the proceeds to buy gold, which it would then use to back a revalued yuan. According to Schiff, this move would cause the dollar to crash against the yuan and U.S. interest rates to surge, which is exactly what the prophecies warned us of. There's more. Chinese consumers will instantly be enriched as purchasing power is transferred from the U.S. to China. The Chinese will then be able to afford the goods China now ships to the U.S. In other words, all the stuff they're making, the Chinese would have the money to buy it. They will also be able to buy a lot of stuff in the U.S., like our used cars Americans can no longer afford to maintain or drive. So the Chinese will get to consume all the goods they produce. Americans, not the Chinese, would experience massive inflation, that's what the prophecies say, and collapse in living standards. Again, all of this has been prophesied, warned of. Now, let me show you a video. This is Hegseth. It's only like 60 seconds long. But I want you to hear him say China is not going to weaponize the Panama Canal. So this is getting close to moving from words to bombs. Listen.
And today, the Panama Canal faces ongoing threats. The United States of America will not allow communist China or any other country to threaten the canal's operation or integrity. To this end, the United States and Panama have done more in recent weeks to strengthen our defense and security cooperation than we have in decades. China-based companies continue to control critical infrastructure. This makes Panama and the United States less secure, less prosperous, and less sovereign. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world.
Russia welcomes U.S.-Iran nuclear talks in Kremlin. Moscow on Tuesday welcomed upcoming nuclear talks between the United States and Iran. Russia absolutely supported the diplomatic initiative, and they wanted to be resolved diplomatically following Trump's apparent threat to bomb Iran if it did not come to the negotiating table. In other words, Trump is basically openly saying, you're not going to get a nuclear bomb, and we're willing to hit you militarily in order to stop it. Now, let me play a video. This is Brandon Biggs. This is a guy that saw Trump hit in the right ear 3 months before it happened. Watch what he says. He says food shortage.
There are great trade wars with China and America that are coming. And we depend solely on China for a lot of our goods. And when the tariffs come in, remember what I tell you. There will be a day when China says, we're not sending anything. We're not doing business with you for a while, as a strike. And when this strike takes place, our grocery stores, our Walmarts, our Targets will have nothing in them. I saw shelves with cobwebs in the corners, representing a longer period of time with nothing on them. And they had to take the goods from one store and put it in another store to fill that store up so that they would have something in it, because they had no merchandise to put in it. So they just took from other stores to fill the one store, and they shut that store down.
So there you go. Food shortage. As I've been telling you, go to josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. They're offering free shipping, which is quite a bit because some of this stuff's pretty heavy. What you want to do is top row where it says machine package. You order one of those. Then you decide how much food you want. 1 person a year, 2 people for a year, 4 people a year, 6 people. What do you want? It all comes in a package. And my suggestion, I understand that they're able to ship this out pretty quickly. But my suggestion is that you don't wait until China cuts off the shipping coming into America. Like Second Chronicles 20:20 says, believe God's prophets and so shall you prosper. Or in this case, I'm going to say, believe God's prophets and so shall you eat. josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. Now, I want to play another short video. This has nothing to do with Bible prophecy, but I want to show you that evil people in high places are openly trying to kill us.
We spray our food supply with a chemical called folic acid. We've been told that folic acid is a natural vitamin, vitamin B9. It's not. We make it in a laboratory. Folic acid does not exist anywhere on the surface of the earth. You cannot find folic acid anywhere in Mother Nature. Folate exists in Mother Nature. What's the first thing that we tell a pregnant woman to do when she gets pregnant? Take high doses of what? Folic acid. Why are we giving pregnant women a man-made chemical that didn't even exist until the 80s something and calling it absolutely necessary for a healthy pregnancy? Folate and something called methylfolate. I'll tell you another quick one. In the United States, we are required to spray our entire grain supply. All flour, all rice, all bread, all pasta, and grains of any kind, including cereals of any kind, with the chemical folic acid. Although we don't call it sprayed with folic acid, we call it fortified or enriched. So fortified or enriched foods we feed to our children. Half of the population has a gene mutation that does not allow them to process that. Do you know what happens when you put high amounts of something into the human body that it can't process? It goes dysfunctional. And then we send our kid to school after it's a full contact sport to get them in the car to go to school, and the phone call comes home and they say little Johnny can't pay attention and he doesn't follow directions and he doesn't listen. We need to bring in the Adderall or the Ritalin to solve this. We need to take his little mind that's racing, and instead of calming his mind, we need to go into his central nervous system and break it and race the central nervous system with amphetamines to match the pace of the mind. That's the solution. No, the solution is get the folic acid, the fortified and enriched nutrients, fake chemicals out of their diet and watch their behavior change.
Here's another one. Today it was announced that China is reducing its currency. This is President Trump just in the last couple of days.
I tell that to other leaders. You got to fight for your country. You're not going to fight for us, but we can't fight for you. We're fighting for other countries. We're trying to make them great without making us great, but those days are over. They steal our intellectual property. They rob our trade secrets. They manipulate their currency to levels that have never been seen before. Today it was announced that China is reducing its currency. Did you see that? Big. In other words, they're going to make up for it. They got every trick in the book. I'll tell you, they are great. You got to hand it to them. They're manipulating their currency today as an offset against the tariffs. Not supposed to do that. The game isn't supposed to be played that way. It makes it very hard for us. But in the end, it's not good because they have to buy oil. See, we don't need oil. We don't need oil and gas. We have more than any other country. They have to buy it. That's where it hurts them when they do that. It costs them twice as much.
So I recommend you call 800-200-GOLD. If you don't have some gold and silver that you can touch, then that would be a very good idea. And I'm not giving financial advice, but if you have an IRA or a 401k that you don't want to see, look, you've already seen it fall, okay? We told you, we've been warning you. If China stops shipping, what's going to happen to your IRA or your 401k? Also, if you have a need to have prepper bars, which is a little bar about the size of a credit card, either in silver or in gold, 844-741-1776. Also, if you have cryptocurrency that you'd like to put into an IRA, blocktrustira.com. Go and check it out. Doesn't hurt anything, doesn't cost anything to check it out. Check it out. Now, I've got a couple of things that I want to comment on here. I voted for atreal.com, and I'm very sorry that I did. I've lost so much money this last week. If this is winning, I don't want anything to do with it. He's lost my confidence. Okay, Dave, give it a chance. But if the prophecy about China stopping shipping, that's going to be good compared to China stopping the shipping. Then another guy says, after working for 33 years, finally paying my student loans off at age 55, having never missed a payment, and sending 2 kids to college to graduate debt-free, I'm now 3 months out of retirement, watching my retirement funds being ripped off to shreds. 800-200 gold. We've been trying to tell you. We've been trying to tell you. Don't lose your life savings. There's a couple more things. One of the things I have seen is a potty mouth come to most Americans. Most Americans let curse words, filthy words, flow out of their mouth. And we're talking about the kind of cuss words that should not even be said in the bedroom to your mate. I had to blank out 2 of them here. I remember I went to one movie and I started counting how many profane words there were, how many F-bombs there were in the movie. We live in a filthy, filthy nation, and yet we expect to be blessed. I think we're in for a world of hurt. And I had wanted to cover this again, but it looks like I'm running out of time. But what I do want to call your attention to close, look at the bottom last 5 or 6 lines. That's what I'm talking about. The first monarch had scenes of war without bombs. That's where we are now. The second had war with bombs exploding, fires burning. That is just around the corner. Third was people running for their lives. We could see that. I don't think it's coming this year. I think we got a few years, but I've been wrong before. Then the ringmaster destroyed them all. The whole tent went completely black. That's the sun going out. The sudden blinding light is Jesus returning with the morning star that burns up all of the sin off the earth. I'm saying get yourself prepared, my brothers and sisters. Get yourself prepared. Ask Jesus in your heart.